Jabba. Well, what's happening? What's the crack, folks? Chris here, and we're back for another wee video. Today we're going to do a nice wee funky bob with a wee disconnected shoulder section on the left hand side. As you can see here, we're just starting to haircut it off with some freehand clipping. Leah's hair is quite poker straight and it just pings out every direction going, so we're just doing this with no guard. And yeah, we're just basically, providing she keeps her head really still, we're just freehand, just flicking that out. Basically what it does is it just looks like it's been shaved, but it's a wee bit softer. You're kind of going with the grain of the hair and the natural flow. It's just a bit more interesting for me personally as a hairdresser, just to spend a wee bit more time. Keeps my job interesting, keeps my day going, you know what I mean, rather than just running number one up the back and sides and saying that's it, done. Just taking your time, just going with the natural shape of the head. You know, you want to go in quite short at the nape, and then you're just flicking it out at a 45-degree angle, and that just gets it that nice colour change. You just got to take your time with it, and then just refine every wee detail up, just clipper over comb. Just taking any wee corners or edges off. So taking the fringe out, just a triangular section from the middle of the head down. And as you can see, just normal bob sections at the back. I always take them sections the same angle that I'm going to be cutting the bob into. And then we're just using a pair of scissors to basically club cut that bottom. Just keep a nice big, nice edgy straight line. That's it, just work it from one side to the other. Next section, keeping the sections quite small, quite thin. Client's got a good thick head of hair, so you're just working on, you know, about an inch wide section so you can clearly see the guideline going through it. Continue this down the right hand side, just one section over the top and then follow over on the left hand side. As I say, keeping the sections nice and small, club cutting, meet the guideline, and then bring the next section on down. Now, once the back's done, give it a good shake, see how it's all set, make sure it covers everything. You're looking for heavy spots. Now, as you can see, I'm taking a very fine section above the ear, and this is where all the bulk and the weight would sit behind the ear if my client was to tuck her hair behind her ears. So all I'm doing is taking that graduation from the undercut and just basically creating a shorter section behind the ear, get rid of all that bulk. It's not necessarily going to be visible when the haircut's down. Just cutting upwards to avoid putting any lines in it. So we're taking a horizontal section at the hairline and we're just going to once again point cut up the way. That's going to avoid putting a really structured straight line in, but loads of wee tiny small incisions like that will create a nice straight line, but it just gives it the ability to flow and move freely while it's still looking poker straight. Keeping these sections thin so you can work through the guideline and just work with the natural hair growth patterns. As you can see, I'm not putting really any tension on the hair itself. I'm just using the opposite side of the comb there just to hold the hair in flat to the head. We'll just bring it down, small wee incisions. Double check everything, and I'm just pushing the hair out of the way around the ear. And we're just going to trim up and round and get rid of any of that excess bulk and overhang. Take the other side and just renegotiate how much that thickness is sitting there. Once that's out of the way, tidy up around the back of the ear and just neaten it up. It's all these wee finer details. I'm just going to scissor over comb. All I'm doing is I'm keeping the exact same length. I'm just point cutting, and that's going to take away a wee bit of that heaviness and a lot of that bulk without taking that nice big straight line away. Now, when it comes to the sides, we've club cut the back, and we're just going to point cut into the sides, and that just wants to give us just that wee tiny bit of softness and a wee bit of freeness in the movement. Just take your time, just small wee incisions. What you don't see obviously with the editing is, I'm covering this hair about 40 odd times, comb, and then you do a cut. But we'll be here all day watching that. Once again, then back onto the opposite side, and we're taking a section from the upper recession line, and we're just continuing then to blend the front into the back. A very, very slight bit of over direction there to maintain a bit of length at the front, and once again we're point cutting. Still want a blunt line, but we'll want it nice and soft. Or we still want a straight line, we just want it nice and soft. Just continuing same fashion of sections, just up the head, taking into account the natural fall of the hair. Quick blow dry, just letting everything do what it wants. Run errands through it, just to smooth everything down, and that's what we're left with. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm using tension to really thicken that line up. I really want a nice big blunt edgy bad boy. Cutting right into the fingers, making sure that we're getting that nice edgy line, and then once that's done, then just using the scissors just to refine that line, get rid of any unwanted graduation or any wee scissor marks from my fingers, and just work that through the front. And then generally what I'm doing there is I'm taking away that underneath section. A light bit of scissor over comb, that's just refining the hairline on how that blends in just behind the ear. And now I'm just going to comb this back and forward and just really sharpen up that line. Especially just where the head dips in around the ear. Vice versa. As you can see a wee bit better on this side. I'm just really blunting that up. When you blunt that up, I'm pulling it out slightly so that the very bottom of the section always maintains a wee bit of extra length. That's why you'll see when it's then let go and sitting freehand, then that's when I would just run the scissors around and just trims that wee underneath section just a wee bit shorter. But that creates a big blunt line on the outside of the haircut. And this is me then tidied up the inside of that haircut. As you can see in plenty of the other videos, this client always ends up the bulb or something very, very short, but we have a million videos of her, and every haircut's a wee bit different, and she's just one of those clients I love seeing come on because she's up for pretty much anything. And her hair's just fantastic fun to cut. That's me just cross-checking, having a look at the weight, the balance, the shape, how it's all sitting. And now we're going to go in and just refine the finer details, just taking up over the ear. That's where the shaking of the hair comes in handy, because it gives you an idea of what it's going to look like when it's it's natural. You comb hair into place and it looks great, but it's how you wear it every day. That's where you want to make sure that you've got every wee extra hangy bit, or if you've cut a parting in, if it sits in a different parting, there's no big long random overhangs. Just going through, normally what I would do is just follow the same section patterns as I've cut the hair onto the fringe now by big triangle section that we took before. I'm just club cutting a nice wee curved shape. Take that out of the way, and then I'm just going to go in with the scissors and just cut it directly on the forehead. And just do this a couple of times so it doesn't end up too short. And you know yourself, you know, when you're chasing a bit of hair across somebody's face, you know, it's the most important thing they're looking at. You don't want to fucking butcher it at the very start and then it's just running about looking surprised for about 3 weeks. And go, and just meeting in the middle. And this is always the case with myself. I'm like, right, that looks perfect, but it needs to be 2 inches shorter. Just blending out them corners, widen it up a bit. That'll tie in nicely with our wee disconnected bit on the left hand side. Pop, 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 pop. Edging them wee corners out, I really want that fringe to pop out, but I also wanted to tie nicely in with our shorter bit underneath. So I'm just refining them wee corners. Haircut's pretty much done now, so it is. It's really just a case of a little bit of texture and tidy up around the edges. I'm just using the clippers and the wee comb just to very, very softly blend out any wee kind of heavier sections. As you can see now, I'm just really trilling through the hair, making sure that any excess weight or bulk or heaviness on either side are all looked after. I'm kind of looking to see, there we go. I was shaking it, I was like, nah, there's still a wee bit of heaviness there. I need shorter bits through the top. I want to keep all the shape, but I want a couple of nice random shorter bits. And that's basically what we're doing now, is just going through, not putting structured layers in, I'm just gently slicing out shorter bits of hair on the top. And that just gives it a bit of movement, a wee bit of texture without, you know, a whole big layered section that you have to blend in, or it takes the weight away from somewhere else. From here on in, the rest of the haircut was visual, you know, it's just, you're just looking at things and going, right, I need that a wee bit shorter, I need that a wee bit thinner. And that's all, lads. Love it. Appreciate you watching this, really appreciate it. If you've any advice, anything you'd like to see, let me know. Other than that, putting a good bit of effort into these wee videos now, so I would love it if you could like and subscribe. And I'll see you later. Peace out. Shabba.